Hi everyone. So in this video, we're going to talk through how to do a financial statement validation in KNIME, like a financial statement tie out. So you won't need to you won't need to use those red pens or bust out the green pen anymore. Um, we're going to show how we can use regular expressions, which are a way of identifying patterns in text, to identify the financial statement captions in both the current and prior period financial statements and match them together. And so what we're going to do is we're going to use Microsoft as an example over here. So here we have our current year financial statements. We're going to need to we're going to look at the income statement specifically. We're going to try to match 2020 and 2019 balances to the prior year. And we're going to look at the prior year financial statements from Microsoft as well. And match it against the current year column and the prior year column. So let's go into the workflow in KNIME, and we're going to look at the tika parser node first, which is going to identify our text. And the tika parser node is just going to point to the folder where the financial statements are located, and then I've selected content over here, and it's just going to capture all the content. So once that's executed, you have the entire 10K over here, basically. Once that's done, right now I'm just replacing the new line characters with this dash, and this actually helps to just do analysis and capture that section within the text. Regular expressions sometimes difficult to work with new line characters, so then we're going to use this. We're going to identify the income statement. It's going to take a little bit of time to open up. What we're going to use in this node, this regex extractor node, which is part of the Palladian nodes in KNIME, is basically we're going to identify everything between two captions to identify the income statement. So what two captions? We're going to look at and see. We're looking for the income statements header. Everything between the income statement header and comprehensive income statements we're going to capture. So that's how we're going to identify the income statement. And so you can see that's what this is doing. This is a look behind and a look ahead income statements. Okay. And this is everything in between income statements and comprehensive income statements. Regular expressions are great to learn. They're kind of foreign to us in the accounting and finance profession, but it took me about two or 3 weeks to learn how to use them effectively. But once I did, it was extremely useful. You can use regex 101 as a great resource for that. Once that's captured, we're going to just filter by that column that we just identified over here. And that's this. So now we have the entire 10K in here, or just the income statement section, I should say. And then this section is really a standard set of nodes that I would typically use to split into new lines, to split, content like this, which is all in one row, into multiple rows. And basically, there's now I use this as my new line character. So this slash, and then it's just outputting it into a list, and then we're ungrouping the list here, ungrouping the list, and then we're basically removing the split result list from the input name. So that's just that's removed, and so you can kind of just see here what that's looking like, and then we're doing this reference column resorter, but it's not 100% necessary because we're only working with one column anyway. So we're going to extract column header and then transpose, and then we're just doing this could be useful if you have more than one column that you're working with. You want to keep everything in the same order. Then the regex extractor, what we're doing here is identifying the amounts. It's just a standardized basically regex that's available online. Just copy it from online, but you can see it's 1 to 3 digits followed by a comma followed by 3 digits. That's essentially the regex. And then there's like an optional decimal places. If it has decimals captured, it captures it. If it doesn't. Usually financial statements wouldn't. So So then we're going to remove the unused groups that we're going to use another regex pattern. Anything before or after that has group in the middle, remove those columns. Essentially, we can see these groups that were captured. We don't really want them. We just want the full match. So I should point out too, we're outputting these as columns in here. So so we're going to remove the unused groups over here, and that takes out a bunch of the columns. And we're also going to remove these. We just want the captions and the amounts. So we're going to remove these others too. We're going to use the missing value column filter node over here to remove those. Based on a 90% threshold. 90% is missing value, then just remove whatever columns are within this group over here. And then this next part, we're going to try to dynamically identify the years that are going to be part of our column headers. So we're going to change. First, we're going to extract our current column headers, which are match 0, match 1, match 2. That doesn't tell us what year that each of the amounts are for. So match 0, match 1, match 2. It doesn't tell us what year this is for. So we're going to dynamically try to populate that. And then so this is essentially, we're trying to identify our old column names over here, and we're going to join them with our new column names. What we want our new column names to do. First, we're just going to filter by the values, which is the income statement full match, or we're going to filter by all the content, I should say. Then we're going to extract anything that isn't matched with 4 digits. So we're going to identify the years that way. Okay, and then there's our years. We're going to filter by that column, 2020, 2021, 2020, and 2019 year. We're going to filter by that particular column. And so we just want that's all we want, these values. Remove duplicates. We didn't have any in that case. We're going to transpose this into a row, and then we're going to join it with the using column appender. We're going to join it to the old column names, and then we're going to create those columns as a variable. That row I should say as a variable, and we're going to pass it into column rename node, so that we take our table with the values that we identified for the financials, for the income statement, and we're going to change these column names dynamically. So match 0, match 1, match 2. So we you just have to select 3 over here. You don't have to. What's going to happen is the variables are going to control what's going to be replaced with what. So we're saying that column 1 is going to be replaced with 0, column 2 is going to be replaced with row 1, column 3 is going to be replaced with row 2. And what that means is that if you go back to our variables over here, you can see what that aligns to. These are the values. Column 1 is going to be replaced by row 0, which is 2021, and column 2, match 1 is going to be replaced by 2020, and column 3, which is match 2, is going to be replaced by 2019. So then that gives us 2021, 2020, and 2019, and that'll just dynamically populate for every time we supply the KNIME workflow with the new set of financial statements. And these are just to clean things up. So we have our row filter node to remove rows which are not values. So we're going to remove those rows which don't match our regular expression to identify the values. Regular expression is clicked. So only include those rows that match that. Then we're going to identify the caption. And this is just simple regex, which means anything that's not a digit. Capital D is /capital D is not a digit. One or more of those values will give you your captions. Then we're just going to remove the year. There's still a couple leftover rows that we didn't want. Remove year ended June and item. They were just showing up over here still and get filtered out. So year ended June over here. Actually, we didn't need item in there. It doesn't look like it's there anymore. It's got filtered out already. But year ended June is going to be removed after we take that out. So we just want to get our income statement. That's it. Just our income statement. then remove any missing values as well. Okay, there doesn't seem like there's any, it's just there just in case. And this is exactly, we have our column, we're just going to filter by our, filter out our income statement full match, just so that we have our captions and we have our values over here. So just the caption for the line item and the values. This is the exact same down below for the 2020 income. So this is the prior year, exact same set of notes. I just copied and pasted them in, and same result for the 2020 financial statements. Now we can bring them together and match them. To do that, we're going to have to use these rule engine nodes. So you could always go into the rule engine nodes, and every time you do this, you could update the years. But to do it dynamically, we got to be a little bit more creative. So that you can just, all you have to do, I want to get this to a point where all you need to do is just update the financial statements, like in the folder, and just run the workflow. So then basically we're going to talk about how to create the rule engine, the rules, and supply them as a variable. So we're going to borrow from this table over here and try to get, we're going to compare, what are we comparing? We're comparing 2020 and 2019 in both tables. Going back to the PDF financial statements, we want to compare 2020 and 2019 to 2020 and 2019. So we need to capture 2020 and 2019, and I'm going to give them these names: current year, prior period 1, and current year, prior period 2. That's row 1 and row 2, right? That's this over here. Row 1 and row 2, 2020 and 2019. And then we're going to add these dollar signs. That's just to get the syntax it's just adding dollar signs in between them so that the syntax can be correct for the rule engine node. Then we're going to filter 2020, 2019. We're going to filter by those two. Then we're going to pass those in as variables into this over here, where we're going to join them into our prior period corresponding values. So we create a statement for the rule engine. So prior period 1 comparison rule. Let's look at that actually for a second. That's prior period 1 comparison rule is row 0 and row 1. Prior period 2 comparison rule is row 1. So what does that mean? Row 1 is 29. Row 0 is 2020, and row 1 is 2019. We're comparing that to, remember over here, comparing that to row 1, which is 2020, and row 2, which is 2019. So that ends up going in here, and basically, before I do that, so prior period 1 comparison rule, which is row 0 in the prior period, that is going to be our current. We're using the string manipulation multi-column. You could have reused the string manipulation without the multi-column as well, but that's going to go in here to what we're comparing the current period, prior period 1 to. So this is 2020. We're joining all this together. We're using the join to create this statement is equal to $. Remember, we already created the dollar signs around the current year, prior period for 2020. $, current column, which is this, prior, because that's going to be the suffix that's added in the joiner node over here. So, and then the $sign over here, and to complete the syntax. And then we have the result, which is true. So this is basically going to create the rule for us, comparing 2020 to 2020. Comparing 2020 to 2020, that gives us a true result. Now we're going to do the same thing, compare 2019 to 2019. It's the same thing over here. Just change the column and change the variable. This is a variable over here. The variables are on the left-hand side over here. So then we're going to filter by the rules. We just want the rules. We're going to pass those in as variables into our rule engine. So when we look at the results, we had 19 in rows. The order is the same in each of 2020 and 2019. So we have consistency here. Accountants love consistency. And the financial statements. So that's needed for a KNIME workflow. We need consistency in terms of making sure it's predictable and so we can match it. So then we have all of the years over here, and this is our first set from 2021, 2020 over here, and the captions. And so we use the joiner node. We joined on row ID. They both have 19. They're both in the same order. And we add the suffix for the duplicate columns, which is prior. That's why we had to add it in the string manipulation to create the rules. Then we're gonna remove the comma from current columns so that we can look, because those are all amount columns. I actually was going to convert them to amounts, but it actually didn't end up being necessary. So you probably don't need this step. But if you look over here, so now we're going to pass this into the rules. We're going to pass this prior period one comparison rule over here, so that we don't actually have to write it in the rule engine. It's done dynamically, and we're going to call it first prior period match. Okay, so then that gives us a true match because everything for 2020 did match. Everything for 2020. Okay, and then same thing over here. We're going to do it. We passed in our second rule, prior period to comparison. Okay, we're not writing anything over here. Second prior period match is true. And now let's see the result. Now we're going to write the result to Excel, and we're done. No red pens, no green pens, no tired analyst or tired junior during busy season. You can have confidence, full confidence that that this is actually matching, because it's systematically matching. So basically everything ties out over here. You have the true over here. Everything's documented. You have something to show for it. You can supply this with new financial statements and run it, and it will run in seconds. So this is kind of it's part of the new ways of working. Obviously, a great asset. Make sure you have consistency. Make sure you monitor the results. But there you go. It's all set. So thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. Hope it's beneficial to you, and have a great day.